Greetings, it's Adam with the Rata Non Grata, and a few days ago Atari announced that they were adding 12 new games to the Atari 50th Anniversary Celebration Collection. I would have been a little quicker on this, but I've been so busy producing videos from the IAPA trade show where there's been a ton of new arcade games announced and released that's where my focus has been, over on the Arcade Heroes channel if you're interested in that. But I'm getting to the end of all that, so I'm going to be able to spend a little bit more time producing some content for this channel as well. And I've been thinking about some Sega stuff too with the recent Sega announcements. But let's take a look at those games. Now, most of them are Atari 2600 games, and this actually reflects the Atari Flashback 2 quite a bit, such as with Adventure 2, the 2600 version. They added Aqua Venture, which was a prototype from back in the day, bowling. Let's see, Circus Atari was added. Aqua Venture, I should mention, was a prototype on the 2600 way back, but it was on the Flashback 2. Double Dunk, Maze Craze were added. Miniature Golf was added. Moto Rodeo, which I've never played, so I don't know much about that one other than it was a very late release, one of the last 2600 games from the day. Return to Haunted House, which was a homebrew game. Save Mary, which was also a prototype that had not been released but was complete. Super Football, which I maybe played once or twice. And then from there, it was the addition of a game on the Lynx, which would be Warbirds. Now, from what I hear is that Warbirds was originally available on this collection if you bought the physical release, which I did, but for some reason with an update to the software, they removed it. I really don't understand why that would have happened, but I guess if it might have been a licensing issue, and so they fixed it now. And I'm glad they did, because Warbirds is a very impressive first-generation game on the Atari Lynx. If you're not super familiar with the Lynx, I'll jump ahead here to where you can see that a little better. And it also had quite a few options. One of those options was to switch between arcade control or arcade-like gameplay and flight simulator-like gameplay, where the flight simulator one would obviously be a little bit more of a challenge to handle. But perhaps the most impressive thing about Warbirds is, as you can see here, are the graphics, where you had, I believe those would be filled 3D polygons, flat shaded ones, or if not, then they got a very impressive 3D-like look to them. And there was another Atari Lynx game, Steel Talons, that had some similar effects, although the frame rate on Steel Talons is not quite as good. And chances of that one showing up are probably pretty slim, just because of the fact that it's owned by Warner Brothers at this point, through the Atari Games and Midway acquisitions. So that's where I just wouldn't really expect it there. But Warbirds was a game released in 1990, and as you can see, it allowed you to have different views around your craft, which is something that a lot of early 3D games did, just because it was, in a way, kind of a gimmick, where it's like, hey, where we can have 3D effects, you can now see different views, where in a lot of 2D games wouldn't allow for view changes. But I do suck at the game here, I have to fully admit. But out of all the games that were offered for free on the 20th anniversary, or 50th anniversary, sorry, that I'm most excited about will be this one, as I'll get better at it one of these days with some practice. But also Aqua Venture, that, as I mentioned, that one was released on the Atari Flashback 2. It was supposed to be released way back in, I think, in 1984 on the 2600, but just probably due to the acquisition by the Tramills that it did, or Tramills, whatever, it got lost for a long time there. I mean, Adventure 2 is exciting. It's just, I do wish that it would have been the Atari 5200 version, which was much better. Although the 2600 version was plenty respectable. It's just, yeah, if you want the best version, well, I guess the best version would now be the Atari XE. that I think is available, or it has been available for a little while. I've been meaning to get that one. But also Save Mary. Save Mary is a fantastic game. I'll post a separate video of me playing that one just through as far as I can go there, because it's just a lot of fun and fantastic puzzle, almost a platformer in a way to it, that would have been great to see Save Mary show up on some other platforms like the 7800 or the ST, as I'm sure a little bit more could have been done with the concept there. But for a puzzle game on the Atari 2600, it's absolutely fantastic. But again, it was supposed to have been released probably around 1990. Never was released. It worked on Atari 7800 consoles, like the prototypes that could be found for a little while, until managed to fix it. And then but it was included as part of the Atari Flashback 2 after they figured out the little issue that it had in the code there. And so yeah, this would probably also be one that would be worth seeing Atari release on a cartridge if they haven't already. I haven't kept up to date on all that. But yeah, those are the new updates to that. Thank you to Atari for giving us some extra free games. I'm sure there's lots out there who would be saying, well, why didn't they include this one or that one? And of course that crossed my own mind. It's like, they just got all these acquisitions such as Berserk and such, and so hopefully those will be added, and there's some that I'd be willing to pay for too, so I won't complain about free stuff. But thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next video.